welcome to my channel. I'm Ariana, and in today's episode we have a guest with us, and we will have a discussion about different, so we'll try to go as much as we can, but a few of the questions that comes up again and again from the Muslim audience, and the thing that's stopping them from following Christ. So we will discuss those. And as you know me, I'm Mariana, and I'm actually a software engineer, and I came to Christ last year, and I wanted to share the love and peace that I received after following Christ to everyone, because after going through and reading different religions and subscription and everything, and after knowing Christ, I just can't stop myself from sharing it for everyone. And plus, I know the consequences of not following him, and my whole family is in danger. So that's why I started this channel.
Hi, my name's Mark, and I started a channel called Plain Speaking Ministries, and I wanted to speak plainly about Jesus and about how good he is. I've been doing that for a while. I've been following Jesus for like 30 years. He has really developed a heart in me to know him and to teach people about knowing him and how you can know Jesus directly and not have to go through a religion or a church or a mosque or a pastor or a rabbi or anything like that. You don't have to go through anybody to know Jesus, and that is what I like talking about. I like to tell you about how to know Jesus in your heart, which is not hard because that's where he lives if you believe in him. And I was really interested in Ariana's channel because she's a new Christian. She's changed into this new creature, which is a Christian when they receive Jesus, and it's genuine. It's obvious that it's genuine, and there's nothing better than that. And it's really the point of being a Christian is knowing Jesus in a very simple way. And that's what I'm interested in.
Okay, thank you. So I will give you the first question, which I get a lot of the time, is Muslims say that, okay, Jesus died for our sins, so does it mean I got like a free ticket to sin? Like I can do unlimited sin, and because he died for me, he took the punishment, so it means I can do anything I want. And it's not fair. They don't think this is fair, that he took the pain and now I'll just enjoy sinning. It doesn't make sense to them.
It's fair.
They don't think it's fair that he died for them and then they can just sin. And for them is like, that's why the Europeans, they are sinning all the time, because they think all Europeans are stupid to think that Jesus took their sin and now they are sinning left, right, and center. But it's not actually the case, because for them, it's the religion starts from covering of women and them having big beards and praying, and that's it. That's the best thing you can do. And they don't see Christians doing that, and they think that for them, even if they just go up and down praying, worshiping, doing the rituals 5 times, that's the best thing a person should do. And being a Christian, you're not doing that, so you are sinning. And all, but they don't consider other, like the 7 sins that Christianity focuses on. They don't consider those, and those things are not very clear. But if you could explain to them that when you follow Jesus, it doesn't mean you can just sin, it'd be great.
No, I mean, the basic reason is because he died for you. It's the price that he paid. Basically, when you sin, you are mocking God. I mean, mocking what he did, because he paid the price of his blood. He spilled his blood just to relieve you of your sin. And when you sin and you do it on purpose, and when you continue in it, you can't continue in it as a Christian. It's impossible because you've met the real God. You have Jesus now in your heart. And if you continue doing it, you're ignoring this bright and shining light that's shining from your heart. And the only way you can keep doing it is by blocking that light out, just continuing to do what you want to do. You can do that, but it won't last very long because God has a way of getting through to you because he deals with everything in your heart. And it's a personal thing between you and him. You can't continue sinning. In Romans chapter 6, it says real simply, it says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer in sin?" So, we say, well, because, we're not going to be punished for our sin, we can just keep doing it. He says, no, God forbid. That's the wrong attitude. And honestly, no one with a heart for God would have that attitude. I mean, you talk about Europeans who keep sinning, but I mean, that's another issue because you said that Muslims think, if they have the beard and they do the prayers and all that stuff, then, they're doing what they're supposed to do and they're not sinning. But the fact is that you can still sin and do all those things because it's not about how you look or what you do on the outside. It's about your heart. It's about what's going on in your heart. That's why Jesus pointed in the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, right? Where he said, you've heard that it's said not to hate your neighbor or not to kill, But I say if you are angry with your neighbor in your heart, then you've committed sin against them already. You said that you've heard that it's said that not to commit adultery, he says. But if you even look on a woman to lust after, you've committed adultery with her in your heart. And the point is, it's not about what you're doing as much as it's about what you think inside. That's where the decision is made. And you've probably experienced it. If you continue to look and you continue to lust, even if you try to control yourself, at some point you're going to act out and do something wrong. And that's why Jesus wants to deal with sin at the source, where it is in your heart. And he can do that with you. That's the problem. Is so many people try to resist sin on their own without the help of God. But God will help you. And it's a matter of you trusting in him in your heart and listening to him and turning to him in your heart and allowing him. It says that if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins, number one. Number two, to cleanse us of all unrighteousness. That means cleanse you of the desire to do those things in the first place.
Yes, and when you follow Christ, that's like the end of sin. Following him, that's the whole point. And Islam does not have this concept of God coming to live in you, to cleanse you. And that's why as soon as you become Christian, you're right, you change, you become a new person, and you hate sinning. You will not be able to sin once you start following. And that's the whole point of, and that's how it shapes families, it shapes societies, and it shapes countries. Mm-hmm. I will come to the second question, which Muslims ask me a lot. That is, when Jesus came here, he came as a man, and he was, or actually, do you want to ask your question, and then I'll go to my second question? I'll edit this part out.
Well, I could ask a similar question to what you were talking about, because I could ask you, okay, you've now received Jesus, and how has that changed your heart to have him living in you?
For me, he has changed me, because even I'm like a scared person. I don't have this confidence, and my mom and my husband, they've been like very open about it, and they're like, you have changed, you're not the person we knew before, for them. And I was like, really? That's it? I mean, Holy Spirit is working, because to them I'm a different person. It's like, you are, because I live with them. They knew the Ariana before and now, so they're like, you're not the same. What happened to you? Like, what happened to you? They could see the change, and I have become this confidence in me to talk to people. And in the beginning, I think I used to get angry a lot. The first few months of me changing was very emotional, because it was like I couldn't contain all the emotion that I was going through. And whenever I would speak to somebody, tell my family about it, for them, I had to deal with their reaction as well. And it did made me very depressed. At one point, I was very, very depressed, because one of my cousins, the way she talked to me about my dad, that she saw him in a dream and he was in pain and stuff, that really twisted my brain a lot. And I had to have like I'm having arguments with my mom, I'm having arguments with my husband. And for me, like, the will to live and plow through had become very tough. I remember one morning I was going to the church, and I had an argument with my husband before that. He was angry I'm going to the church, and it's like, you're wasting time, and it's like, it was, so for me, everything was just adding up, like my mom, the family, the husband. And that morning I just said to God, like, just kill me, like, kill me, take me and my kids. I had enough. And I went to the church, and I went like with a completely broken heart. I was like completely squashed. And I reached there, and after the prayer, instead of going down, because like the prayer session, like we have half an hour prayer and then kids go downstairs with mom, and I was like, I'm not gonna go downstairs, I will leave. So I just sit on the car, and my kids were like, Mom, we need to go down. And I'm like, no, we're just going home, we're going home. I was like really angry. And as I was reversing the car, I hit the back of my car. And at that time, because I prayed to God to take me, but that was like God giving me like wake up call that it could happen. And my kids start crying, and then everybody from the church, they came, because the car got stuck. So like the body of Christ came to help me. They moved the car, the woman came, they took the children. Thank God nobody got hurt. It was just like I hit the back of the car, and then we sorted out everything. But they came and they hugged me, and they were just like, they were look aftering my kids and me and my emotional breakdown, and they prayed on me, and everybody just prayed on me. And I felt so refreshed after that, like renewed, like I am not alone. I just got filled with this supernatural love and energy, that I have family, I am not alone. And the God saying like, what you say has power. I had to be like really careful after that to not say anything bad about my family or anything, because like the words really have power, and God is listening. So God was just like telling me like, wake up. And after that, I've been just full with energy and peace, like from hitting zero to boom. So it's been an amazing journey, and that's why I just want to share his love to everyone.
That's good, and that journey just keeps on going. I mean, God never gets old. Now when you have a real relationship with him, that's good. That coming to the end of yourself, that's important. That's kind of what I heard you saying. You know, I had to come to the end of myself at one point, and I just and this was a long time ago, but still, I did not know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know what was important. I didn't know what I should commit myself to. And I finally realized it was God. God was the thing that mattered. God was the thing to live for. And, I had the advantage of already being a Christian from being raised a Christian. But I didn't really take advantage of the relationship the way that I could have before that moment, when I emptied myself and said, I don't know anything, Lord. I need you to teach me. I started studying my Bible, and I wanted to study it without anybody else's influence, in order to get, my influence from God himself when I was reading this Bible. And it's like in the book of Proverbs, where it says that, you got to come to him thinking of yourself as a fool, in a sense. All right, like, I'm the fool that needs to be taught. And that's where I was. And that whole emptying of yourself, and just anyway, it never changes. That the way that he'll just keep moving in your life and keep taking you to the next thing. I mean, I believe he led you to do this YouTube channel, and each video is him taking you to the next step. Let's just develop this a little more. Let's show this a little more. Let me teach you this right here. I had a good friend, for example, who said that, anytime that you're writing, like you're writing, creating, anything like that, God is teaching you something while you're doing that.
Yes.
And that's what's great about this Christian relationship, is that it's real. It's something that you get to experience yourself, but it's not according to some set of rules like I'm gonna have to pray this many times a day. Look, I can pray sitting right here even while I'm talking to you. In my heart, I could be communing with God, and that's a prayer at the same moment. It's a continual relationship. That's what makes it good. Okay.
Okay, so shall we continue from... Okay, I will ask the second question now. Yeah.
Second question.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the second question is, how can God that come to the earth, eat with us, and live like a human with us, be a God at the same time? This is the second question that I hear a lot of Muslims say. So what would your response be?
Well, that's a funny question, because how else could he save us? He had to become a man in order to go through what we go through day in and day out, and still not sin, and still become the perfect sacrifice then for our sin. He had to become a man to be able to be the sacrifice for a man's sin. I mean, I guess God could do it any way he wants. I suppose he could just change things, but that's the way he chose to do it. And Jesus, he made it very clear throughout his life, don't fall for the lie that he never said that he was God, or that he never said he was the Son of God, because he certainly did. He said specifically, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to God the Father except by me. That's in John chapter 14, if you want to look at that. No one comes to God except through Jesus, and the reason is simple, is because nothing you could do could ever justify you in God's sight. You could not live clean enough and do enough to be good enough to be with God in heaven on your own. The only way you can do it is through someone who could save you. And Jesus was able to save you because he came to take your place, all right? Because the wages of sin is death. In other words, if you sin, you're destined then to die for having sinned. That's the punishment for it. So he came and died in our place. He couldn't do that if he didn't become a man. He couldn't do that if he couldn't be tempted the same way that we're tempted. He was tempted, but yet without ever sinning. And that's why he became a man.
Yes, very well said. And some people say, like, God was in heaven. So for us, that's the reason that we love him so much, that for our sake, he left his throne, he left his heaven, he left everything to come and be like us, feel like us, and then save us. And it's not like he was completely empty of his powers. For me, like when he stopped the storm and he healed so many people, like he touched the blind and the blind can see now. The completely paralyzed person can walk again. So it wasn't like he was completely empty. So he was still God, but he chose to be like us. And where does it say that God cannot eat? It's never been written like God cannot eat. I don't know why, because they sent me link of this Muslim revert as well, and he was making the same remarks like, oh, he's eating, but God will eat. Like that, it never said in any religion like God doesn't eat. But the concept of God in Islam and other religion is like, you've seen like Aladdin movie where like it's a genie or like a supernatural light. So then it's like a machine, a wishing well, that whatever you ask is just gonna grant you and it's just gonna forgive you, and boom, everything is done. The whole concept of having a relationship with God, telling us that he is a person who wants to have a relationship is through Jesus only. And that's why he came and explained to us, like, the God that you think he is, it's not that. That's not God. You need to talk to him, because he is a person and he wants to have a relationship with you. And that's why he wouldn't just always give you whatever you want, but he will give you what's good for you, because he knows the past, he knows the future. So he will decide if it's good for you, he will give you. If not, like if child is crying to touch the fire, mother knows that it will burn him, so no matter how much he cries, the mother will not give it. That's the same concept with God, and that's why he chose to be the father.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to what you were saying about the power of your words. You know, when you ask God for something, he will give it to you. But yes, you're right. He's not going to give you something that's going to harm you. And I learned a long time ago not to ask him for something I really wasn't ready for. And what I mean by that is I would wait on a leading from God before I'd ask him for something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that he already sees what you're going through and already knows what you need. So basically, he's going to give you what you need in that moment, right? So asking him for things ahead of time, I don't think that's a great idea. I think the best thing is to be happy with him in the moment and allow him to develop you to the point where you're able to receive a blessing. Because even a blessing, a good thing, can be harmful to you if you can't handle that blessing. Like if you get, say you got a whole lot of money, you know, from an inheritance or something like that, but you were young and foolish and you just spent it all, you know, rather than doing something wise with it. That's when you just received a blessing, but yet you couldn't handle it. And that's what I believe. It's good to, it's all about staying connected to God. And you don't do that through praying a lot. You stay in him, in you. That's how you stay connected to God. Jesus said that. He said, stay in me like I stay in you. As a branch cannot bear fruit of itself. All right, stay in me like I stay in you, right? As a branch has to stay in the vine in order to bear fruit, right? So you have to stay in me in order to keep bearing fruit.
Yes, 100%. I have one last question for you, and then unless you want to ask any other question from me.
Yeah, I like talking about, you know, your experience. That's what I like to talk about. Oh, you want? Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to ask you now?
Yeah.
Right. You know, you were talking about that, like, but tell me how, like your prayer life and praise and worship, those to me, like your time in prayer and your time in praising and worshiping Jesus, is like where you really make a connection with him. And how has that been for you? How have you felt like the strongest connections with Jesus? You know, where it becomes really personal.
So, as a Muslim, I have been fasting a lot, like throughout of my life. As since the time I was allowed to fast, I did, and I did not feel the same thing. So as a Muslim, you fast when you're not eating and drinking, and it's for certain hours. So when the sun goes down and you can see the moon, then you can start eating and all that. And I always used to think, like, what's with the sun and moon was bugging me. But when you're not eating and drinking, my whole body was, and I will read Quran as well, and I would pray as well, but it didn't feel right. I mean, I didn't have that connection, because your brain and your body is always asking, they're like, water, and you're looking at the time, like 3 hours left, 4 hours left, 5 hours left, how many hours left until I can get 1 hour in the last 5 minutes and I can just eat. So you're all constantly thinking about food, and you're trying to divert your brain from not thinking about food and drinking water, because those are the rules made by men, that you have to follow those rules. And so my brain was completely focused on food. And then I fasted as a Christian, and I asked how would I do it, and they're like, it's your fasting, it's your connection with God, and you set the rules, and you can drink water, or you can have, there are different types of fast, and there's like Daniel's fast, or you can have food. So you choose the thing you're gonna get away with. The main thing is that you're gonna spend time with God. So I did the Christian fast, and because I was always drinking water, my brain and body was not thinking about water, because that's one good thing is like scientifically you're basically washing your inside with water, because you're not eating anything but you're just washing, so it's good for your health, because you're cleansing your stomach and everything with water. So water is good. Secondly, your stomach and body is resting, because now you're not putting any food in it, so your whole body is worshiping God in a way. They are also free, and they're worshiping God. And when your body is worshiping, it creates an amazing energy that you will do it as well. So I start listening some prayer songs, then I start reading Bible, and then I just start talking. And I was like closed the door, and I was just talking to God, and I just went in this phase, and I was just crying and uncontrollably, and I was just telling God everything that has happened, like, because he could understand me fully what was going on. And then I felt this amazing connection with him, that there is someone who's listening to me, and I could see it changing my life and changing everything around me as well. So that experience, even though I've been fasting for 25 years or 27 years of my life, I wouldn't because I didn't start from the day I was born, I didn't fast it, so just consider it 15 years for the argument's sake. For that 15 years of 30-day fasting was nothing, not even 1% of that one-day fasting as a Christian. This is how powerful, amazing it is to have a connection with the real God, and to know him, and to actually know that you have to spend time with him, and it's just between you and him. It's not like advertised on TV that everybody is doing it. So it was amazing.
That's great. And that's what has changed you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about you became more bold.
Yes.
And less afraid, and more wanting to talk to people, and you want to share. That's the way I felt too. It's like I was always a talker, though. I mean, even before. But I felt like when I met Jesus and became more involved in Jesus, and he became more involved in my life, now I have something to actually talk about. I wasn't just talking whatever. I actually had something that I wanted to share that was really worthwhile. What we're talking about now. Look, it's the treasure, the great treasure. It says the pearl of great price. It's knowing Jesus like this, or knowing God like this. It's great.
Yes, I would like to talk with you for a really long time, but I think I will bring our discussion to the end here. It was amazing to talk to you and to learn. I'm always open to know more. Like, it's like a fire that even when my husband comes to my room, he's like, what are you watching? It's like, Jesus did this, Jesus did that, what are you reading? Because all my books are there about Jesus. I'm watching about Jesus, all about Jesus, because it's all I do. And it was amazing to learn from you and your experiences. We can do this again. In the end, I'll just like to ask all my viewers, I will add the link of Brother Mark's channel in my description, so please follow him as well, and follow this channel as well if you haven't subscribed yet, because it will just help us to spread the news and
to spreading the news.
Yes, and to bring people to Jesus, because I do believe we are living in end of time, like end days, and God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So let's just support each other, help each other to spread his word as however way we can, by sharing this video and by subscribing. And also, if you please write comments underneath if you want us to cover any other topic, or if you have any other questions you'd love to discuss.
I'd love to talk in the comments. I always like that.
Yes. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you. It's been great.